and welcome to the Camogie Association's Social Channels. It's Women in Sport Week and we're delighted to be showcasing some of the brilliant women in our game with some short interviews across the week. Today we're really excited to be joined by Valerie Wheeler. Valerie, you're very welcome and thanks a million for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited and nervous to being asked the questions.
So start off by asking you to tell us a little bit about your role, I suppose, in relation to Camogie.
So I think my role in relation to Camogie is I am a sports broadcaster. So I had the lucky job of, I suppose, a couple of years ago being the presenter of the Liberty Insurance and the Littlewoods League and Championship that were being streamed online. So that's probably when my job kind of started a relationship with Camogie a couple of years back. I got to know the girls and get to know them and be able to showcase Camogie in the light and the platform it deserved. So it was really nice at the time to be able to do that. And then over the last few years, I've joined RT, and then of course we're showing more and more games on RT every year, the quarterfinals, semi-finals, and the finals. So I would have been pitch side reporter for those games. So and yet again, it's really nice to have built the relationship with the girls I had from the streaming. So when they come over to you on RT on big match days, they're calling me Val, and well, thanks Val, in the middle of a big interview after a big game. So it is nice, and I did build a lovely relationship with the girls over the years through Camogie.
Brilliant. And what was it that got you involved in Camogie, I suppose, in the first place?
I'm living in Charleville, County Cork, and my school, St. Mary's, were winning All Irelands for fun when I was growing up, but I myself didn't feel I was good enough to play because I had the likes of Anna Geary and Aisling Thompson and all the Watsons in the panel, and sure, I didn't stand a chance against any of those, to be honest. So I was more of a spectator myself growing up, and my dad is a big hurling and camogie and sports fan, so he would have brought me to games growing up as well. So that's kind of where my connection with camogie started. I was growing up being in Charleville and St. Mary's.
You've probably answered this one a little bit already, but how did your I suppose role come in contact with camogie?
I was actually a preschool teacher beforehand, and I was a preschool teacher for about 3 or 4 years, and I felt like, oh God, this isn't for me, and probably it wasn't fair on the children either. So I went back to college and I did a course in radio and TV broadcasting. And then I got a sports internship in Cork's Red FM. And that is where I kind of started the sports journey, and I started going to matches. And then I moved to Spencer West in Limerick, and they had no sport at all. And I decided to go away and set up my own sports section. She let me have the freedom to go away and get accreditation and go cover the matches. And then at the time, there was no real podcast or platform for camogie, so I set up a camogie podcast, and Liberty Insurance were sponsoring at the time, and it was just really great. And I had 2 panelists. It was Niamh Mulcahy and Aoife Sheehan, and we used to go through the games every Monday and every Friday and preview them, and then of course review them after the weekend, post-match analysis on it. So that's kind of how the camogie started at work. And then the more that I suppose I was doing the camogie podcast, is that's when Littlewoods and Liberty and then RT probably came from that, all that kind of hard work and starting my own sports section in Spencer West.
That's amazing. What is it that you love about it?
Well, like, how could I not love it? I mean, anyone that looking from the outside in, it looks very glamorous, but I must say there is some days where it's absolutely lashing rain down on you on the sideline and it's not so glamorous. But I love being able to give the girls a platform they deserve and the players the platform they deserve, because like women's sport, it has come a long way in Ireland over the last few years, but I think it has a bit to go. So I do love being part of that, and I love being the person that's able to promote them and be able to give them the platform. And even if it's a podcast or a post-match interview, or or even RT showing the games as well, like they're getting better to show the games every year. So I just think I really enjoy it, and I think the girls respond well to it as well. And I think that, like, even if you see streaming games and games over the last few years, like we've seen sideline cuts and unbelievable bits of skill, like Caught Devan then with her hurley change in the last few years. Without those platforms, we wouldn't have seen these girls do the amazing tricks and trills that just as good as the boys do. So I think that's what I love about it, being able to give them the platform they deserve.
Bearing in mind it's Women in Sport Week, how can we encourage more women into roles in camogie, be it general roles or roles similar to what you're doing yourself?
Yeah, and to be fair, I think that when I first started, used to go into a press box and there'd be barely any women. And nowadays I can see that there is women coming in towards sports media, and it's great to see. And even young girls would reach out and contact me and say, look, I love what you do, and how did you get into it? So even if there was someone like myself or even other people, I'm sure that there's been plenty of women sports broadcasters being contacted about how they get into the job. So like, even if I was to share how I did it to them, and even if your own role as well, if someone was interested in your role, if you were just that bit of helping, because I know when I first started, like I had plenty of women reach out to me and say, look, if you ever need anything, let me know, and this is how you do it. And like all those things help. And I think anyone that I've ever met now in sport has been so encouraging and so wants you to do well. And I think they just want more women in the jobs, in the roles. So I think it's really important that you encourage them to do so.
Is there anyone, Valerie, that has had a big impact on you?
Well, when I first started this sports journey, there was a journalist and a broadcaster in Red FM called Lisa Lawler, and she was just so amazing to me when I first started out. She absolutely taught me everything I know, and just without her, I probably wouldn't have had the courage and the confidence to go to the games. And she was just so encouraging, and she used to take so much time out of her Saturdays to come in and train me. And I really think that, Lisa was such an amazing role model to me as well when I first started. And of course, the likes of Jackie and Marie and Yvonne and all these women in RT sport that I now get to work alongside. So it's pretty cool to, some days I'm inside and I'm like, play cool, Valerie.
Finally, last question for you. If you could have one wish for women in sport, what would it be?
Do you know what? I was trying to think of things and wishes over the last few weeks, because this week is an important week for women's sport. But the one thing I did think about was, when our women go out to play the games of a Saturday and Sunday, and unfortunately of a Monday morning, what's in the paper is fixture drama and the drama of pitches and the drama of clashing with. The one thing that I would love for the women's sport is that we talk about the game and talk about who was amazing in the game and what happened in the game. I would love to see less controversies around the game and speak about the game and the talent itself, because sometimes they can be quite draining to, when the girls go out there and give it their all in the day, and unfortunately what people take from the match is the controversies. It's very disheartening for the girls playing, I think.
Absolutely. Valerie, thank you so much. Thanks for joining us for Women in Sport Week, and we'll no doubt be seeing you on the sidelines in future.
Thanks so much for having me.